introduction. Your name, what you do. Yeah, your name, what you do. All right. So I'll quickly go to the participant list here. So I'm seeing Israel. Would you like to unmute yourself to quickly introduce yourself to us? We'd like to meet you.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Israel Isidamen. What I do, I am a finance professional in practice. Thank you.
All right, that's awesome. Your location, please.
Well, I'm currently in Lagos.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, we have Joy. Joy, can you unmute yourself? We'd like to meet you.
Hello, my name is Joy Oluwamobere.
Okay, what you do and where you are located.
Okay, I'm a registered nurse and I currently work with the Federal Medical Center.
All right, awesome. It's nice to meet you. We have Francis. Hi, Francis, you're welcome. We'd like to meet you. Can you unmute your mic? Just tell us about you, your name, your location, and what you do. Okay.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Frances. I'm based in Abuja, Nigeria, and I'm in the event industry. I work as an event planner and coordinator. Thank you.
All right, beautiful. It's great to meet you. Okay, finally, we can't really have everybody. All right, but let me call on Olajide very quickly. Please unmute and introduce yourself to us.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Olajide Alade. I am a communications and social media coordinator, and I'm connecting from Lagos.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. So, welcome once again to everyone who is just joining in. We are currently just getting to know one another, to know where we are, joining from, and of course, what we do. So let me just take one more person, seeing that we have a new person joining in. Okay, let me take Jeremy. Jeremy, do you want to unmute your mic and, introduce yourself? Okay, let me give Afolabi a chance as well. Oh, okay, Jeremy.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Oluwafemi Afolabi. I work as the EdTech and Innovations Manager at the Sapphires Development Initiative, a not-for-profit organization here in Ibadan, Nigeria, focused on leveraging digital technologies to promote social inclusion. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that. Jeremy, you are up now. Yeah, let's have you, please. Hello, can you hear me?
You hear me? Is it better?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Okay, so my name is Jeremy. I'm an associate at the Solina Center for International Development and Research. We are a management consulting focused on health for the underserved African population. What else again? Yes, it's in Abuja. Yes, Solina is in Abuja. And I am excited to be in this session. I hope to learn a lot as we move on. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. That's awesome. All right, very quickly, I won't be taking any more questions. Sorry about that. I hope we get to, catch up maybe after the webinar. So, all right. So welcome once again to EdTech Cycle by Lintner. And very quickly, my name is Taiwo Joseph once again, for those who are just joining in. Very quickly, I'll be talking about what LINA is all about. And of course, we'll be diving into the webinar of today. Next slide, please. Hi, Marvelous.
Hi, Taiwo. So yes, welcome everyone again. Now let's get into the program of the day. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. So very quickly about LINA. LINA is a white label solution for training organizations like yourself, businesses, as long as you provide training for people. LINA helps you to, make operations and of course, managing of your users, that's your students, managing of payment and others, makes them very seamless. So one of the things that LINA does is helping you with integrations of live classes to your academy. Of course, diverse learning model option, user-friendly course creation, and payment processes. All of these are made seamless when you use LINA learning management system. Sorry, guys. I don't know if you hear a beep. It's just people trying to join in. So, of course, you've been seeing LINA EdTech community. What is that about? So as a community, our vision is to create a vibrant ecosystem where professionals from all corners of the EdTech world can come together to learn, grow, and innovate. And some weeks ago, we dropped a poll in the community asking about what our community wants to learn. And one of the things that we put it in consideration from the feedback is learning how to write grants, grants, proposals. What are the key things to pay attention to in the education sector when you're writing proposals? And we've taken your feedback, and today we are having this webinar to address all our concerns. So in terms of impact, we've been able to train, over 3,000 plus entrepreneurs, right? We've been to 40 plus African countries with several projects, some of them with African Development Banks and so on, right? We've trained several youth, with our platform and of course, outside the education industry. And one of our major concerns is advancing the education industry. And some of the things that we have noticed is, access to technology is very minimal. And of course, funding, this is one of the major challenges that EdTech startups face. And one of the things we are trying to solve is ensuring that we give academies access to, technology and the necessary infrastructure that they need to make their operations on a day-to-day basis very seamless. And other things is also creating a community where you can get information on how you can access funding and other resources that you need to grow innovation. So why should you join LINA EdTech community? We give you access to training, networking, technology infrastructure, like I said earlier, funding and mentorship opportunities. Next slide, please. Our aim and objective is by 2025, we hope to have impacted 500 EdTech startups in Nigeria. And of course, that means we are starting with you. So if you find yourself in this community, it means you are part of, the focus. All right. Next slide, please. Okay, so to the major reason why we are here. The topic we are considering today is mastering proposal and grant writing to scale your EdTech innovation. And today we are someone who has the experience and will be, giving us some insight into how we can write, an award-winning proposal, a proposal that can get us the grant that we need for our startups. So very quickly, I'll be going to Oluwasenkaide's profile. Please, next slide. All right, thank you. So Oluwasenkaide is the co-founder at School Linker, where his team design professional development opportunities for teachers, through an online platform and live masterclasses. And their technology empowers teacher with accessible professional development. And of course, SchoolLinker was selected as one of the EdTech startups at the Mastercard Foundation, winning about 100,000 US dollars grants. And with 6 years of education sector experience, Oluwaseun has contributed to numerous local and international projects. I was a speaker at the Teach for All Global Conference in Armenia and participated in the Peace First Accelerator program in Austin, Texas. Additionally, Oluwaseun holds this role of senior program manager at Peace First, overseeing regional managers and ambassadors across 25 countries in 6 regions, where he leads global program design of the organization, one who has the experience and can give insight into how to write a grant winning proposal. So very quickly, please join me as I welcome Oluwaseun Kayode to take us on this session. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Hello.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, very
Okay,
clearly.
thank you so much. Hi everyone. So this bio is very old, but of course, I mean, I don't think you requested for another one, but yeah, there is another one. For instance, Peace First that was passed. So there is I have another copy that that I make. But thank you so much. I think this also does justice. Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. Happy I was reached out to share on this. I was like, oh, I don't think I want to do this. Maybe we want to go and look for grant writers to actually share, because I mean, grant writing as it is a profession. People dedicate their entire career lifetime to learn how to write grants. I've worked in the development space for about 7-8 years before transiting into full-time entrepreneurship. And I know what it takes to write grants proposals, to be able to access funding. I've been part of some of those processes as well, to get, hundreds of thousands into millions of dollars funding into developmental projects. And I know that each time we are about to embark on such project or initiatives, we're always having a consultant or someone in the team that primarily to develop grants, and that's that person's job, really. But of course, of course, Taiwo indulged me and like, yes, there's some things that I will be able to share. So I'm happy to be here. And so today really, it's more around me just sharing what has helped me so far relating to building my own EdTech venture. You might not be expecting to see me telling you, oh, this is how to write grant proposals, ensure that your font size is 12 and you have appropriate headings for everything you want to write, and ensure that you follow this particular format, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. No. I'm not coming here to do that, but of course, I'm just looking at some of the things that you need to put in place as someone who's running an EdTech venture, in order to be able to access funding, maybe through grants or through proposals or through open calls or through, whatever it is, whichever avenue you want to get funding for your venture, your business, and some of the things that you need to put in place, some of the things that you should do, some of the things that have helped me, some of the things that I think have helped other people as well who have built, ventures like this, that actually has to do with them trying to acquire funding, maybe grants or so, for that work. So that's what I'm here to share, really. So it's more of an experience sharing session with everyone. So I was listening to the introduction before by those who were able to share who they are and what they do. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really interesting. So the EdTech space is quite interesting. Before now, like, I used to say, oh, EdTech space is this. I use a negative word for it, especially in terms of accessing funding. But I stopped doing that because, I'm also a faith person, and I know that the wrong words we say about the sector, about the the space really definitely has a part to play in how the place really evolves and develop. But I'm always really happy to know that we have people like us who are thinking about building in this space. Doesn't matter how challenging it is to build here, but there are people who are really in EdTech. So I mean, I just even think I should not use this slide, but it's fine. But I prepared something, I just scribbled it down, like, okay, so that we have something that guides the conversation. At first, I was like, I'm not going to use slides, I'm just going to talk through. But then I'm like, oh, some people see me as unserious. But of course, I even think the slides also make me look much more unserious because it's quite basic to an extent, right? But of course, I'm going to use it. I'm sharing, just give me a minute to do that now. Okay. All right, so where's my Zoom again? All right, good. So just let me know when you can see my screen already.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, all right, good. So I'm just going to start sharing from here. So like you all know, my name is Oluwaseyi Kayode, and the session today is on mastering proposal and granting to scale your EdTech innovation. I mean, of course, I don't want to try to define what EdTech is. We all know what EdTech is from the name, education and technology, right? And most times, right, I mean, people have different variation of what EdTech is and what EdTech is not. Some people say, well, if you're building a tool that actually powers teaching and learning in the classroom or wherever teaching and learning is happening, right, then that's EdTech. But if you're using technology tool, you know, probably to deliver what you're doing, that's possibly tech ed. Or if you're training people, sorry, if you're training people to use digital tools and technology tools, then that's tech ed. So people feel like, oh, don't confuse ed tech to tech ed, right? I mean, looking at companies and organizations that train people on how to, you know, be software engineers and software developers, or become data scientists. I mean, those are like the skills that appear to be in vogue. They call those kind of companies tech ed, and some people say they are ed tech, right? So, but I'm not here to drag nomenclature. My own is if you're doing anything that relates with education and technology, innovation, then of course, I mean, this applies to you, right? So, and I currently lead the team at Schoolinka. What we do at Schoolinka sounds simple, but very tough. We are actually changing how teachers learn and using that to improve the teaching quality that happens in the classrooms. So we are giving access to high quality training opportunities to teachers and school leaders, and not just training these educators and training this, you know, education workforce, but also matching this education workforce to opportunities within and outside the education sector through jobs, tutoring opportunities, scholarship, proposals, and all of these things, right? And so far, we've been able to work with more than 5,000 teachers, delivering training to them since we started. Technology is a big part of our work because technology helps to improve the access to professional development that educators get from us. And it also helps us help schools to find teachers very easily and seamlessly on our digital platform. Right. So that's how we use technology to innovate. So before now, teacher training is largely in the classroom or a wide hall, and you have thousands of educators in that hall, and there's somebody in the front facilitating training programs and all. And that takes, you know, one, it is ineffective because it is mass teacher training. Secondly, it is quite expensive for the organizers and even for the people that are attending. And it's just expensive for you to get what, nothing, or maybe just little. But with technology, we've been able to innovate that process so that educators are able to access the training that they need at the points that they need it and wherever they want, really. And so that's what we do at Schooling. And then, of course, we match them with opportunities out there. So talking about, you know, grant writing, accessing funding for your businesses, of course, sometimes or most times, usually, it starts from writing. It starts from you, you know, trying to put word out for, you know, for opportunities that you see, or you're trying to apply, or you're trying to submit a proposal, or you're trying to type an MOU or whatever it is, they all usually start with a business writing, so to say, right? I mean, most of the applications today will ask you to actually fill a form or maybe just create a program proposal and then submit to a particular email, right? And I have these like quotes here that are written by people who have written grants before, and they just wrote this thing. So there are really no names here. It's just like words that they say. And I think that this is very insightful. Like the first one here on my far left top corner says, sometimes the grant application we were sure would be approved gets denied. Despite how strongly we believe in relationship building and following the best readiness practices, occasionally a denial is beyond our control. Fortunately, we believe in ourselves enough to realize that certainly isn't enough of a reason to give up. It's just really interesting. I mean, most times when people don't even submit grant opportunities again or try to submit grant applications or try to apply to a particular program or accelerator or incubator or whatever it is because they are afraid that probably they will not get in. They're afraid that they're going to get a no for an answer, which is perfectly okay. I've been there before as well, and I've struggled with it. There's a moment in my entrepreneurship journey. I'm like, I'm not going to apply for anything again. I'm just going to grow on our revenue, right? And let's build the business. I mean, and that's really good. There's nothing bad about it, but you can also remove the fact that there's some free money that will help push your business or push your venture or innovation ahead in terms of times and days and months that you get to spend. Right. So our own journey at Schooling has been quite accelerated by some funders who have been able to support us. Right. I'm going to talk about that shortly. But the thing really is the fact that getting a no shouldn't be a reason why we don't apply to grants. I've been in situations where I apply to something like this application, Kai, this one, they must get it, they must say yes. And then it comes back and it's like, thank you so much for applying to our program. Unfortunately, we cannot give you a spot here. It's highly competitive and we know how they write the love letters, right? Which is really interesting and can break people's hearts. For me, my learning as before, I can be down for days when I get those kind of rejections. But now really, I mean, I've built a tough skin to an extent, and it's a thing of the mind and the mindset, right? That, I mean, it's okay for me not to be the person that they want at this time. And I should always see that as a fact that it is not me, right? Because it is not in my own control to decide who they want to choose for this particular opportunity. So I need to realize that in as much as I have a choice to make to apply and choose to apply to a particular program, a particular incubation or accelerator, the people who are organizing it as well have a choice to make when it comes to selecting people. And most times in that selection, it's not because your application is not good. It's simply because there are a lot of very good applications and they just have spots for just limited number of people. So I try to use that to console myself, especially when I don't get a reason for why, whether my application was rejected. So I'm sharing this code really to set the ground base to let you know that if you get a no, after probably you put in everything that we've learned through masterclass today and you still get a no, it doesn't mean because you are not growing or because you're not learning or because you're not doing your best. Maybe it can be, but of course, it also means the fact that things most times are not usually in your control. And if you're in that space as well that I've been before, where you just feel frustrated and nothing just happens, right? You need to know that, you can do your best and still not get in and still not get grant. There's a second quote here that says, as we gain more experience as grant writers, we learn lessons from mistakes we have made in previous processes. Think about or look at some of the first grants you wrote. Look at your personal growth in how your style and strength of writing have improved. This is very candid and very, very interesting. I mean, there's a day, I think sometime last month or so, or 2 months ago, my Google Doc and just look at my old documents. I have thousands of documents in my Google. I'm like, how did I get to author all of these documents? But if you look at it, like a number of them are application responses, maybe responses to my application. I hope you all do that as well. When you apply to programs and grants, make it a process that every response you provide to every application copy that from that form and save it somewhere. Maybe in your Google Docs. I do mine on Google Docs because I can access it anywhere. I mean, if you look at, I have lots of, you see, application to blah, 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 application to do, application to do, like I apply and I put those, because most times, right, like recently or lately, when I apply to programs that, people take like 4 hours, 1 week, 2 weeks to apply to, I just apply in 30 minutes because I already have some of these things that I've documented before. So I just take it and then remodel it and then, of course, submit the applications, because most times the application forms are usually the same thing. Right. So, but the thing is, I mean, just like this point is really emphasizing on is the fact that your writing ability or the foot you put forward every time you apply to an opportunity, apply to a grant, apply to accelerator, incubators, whatever it is you're applying to, gets better at every trial. The only reason why it will not get better is two things. One is either you're not growing and you're not paying attention to what you're writing, or two, your business or EdTech innovation is not growing. Right? Those are the two reasons why things will not change or things will not get better. So as we gain more experience as we write, we learn lessons from mistakes. So some of the things that we've written before, sometimes when you take what you've written before, you laugh at yourself, right? I mean, as simple as Facebook posts, when Facebook reminds you, see what you wrote 2 years ago, you'll be like, what? Now, me write this one. Do you get so? And that's how it is for grant writing. I look at some of our schooling card applications. I'm like, this is what schooling card was back then, really. But yeah, at every writing we do, at every trial we do, it might not be writing, it might be a pitch. At every pitch we do, we get better, right? We pitch better the work that we do, and we're able to relate better with other people. But the only thing that would stop us from not getting better is we are not growing, and we are not growing means that we're not applying to opportunities. We have decided all those opportunities. We've not tried to exercise ourselves. We've not try to, really grow in our own imagination, and of course, how we dream about the business. And secondly, the business itself is not even moving. It's just there. Then the third quote here says, with each grant application, there's new wisdom and new lessons learned. And I think it's similar to what we just went through now. Whether funded or denied, this is the point, it serves to make our next application that much stronger. So I would say the best form of learning or the best form of lessons that you want to learn or acquire is that you should go back. Beyond what we are sharing here today, just go back to what you've done before and try to reflect. For those that have his thoughts, so we'll bring it out and try to look through it and say, okay, what is it here that I think that will make someone tell me a no? Once you do that, you will find one or two things and you'll be like, okay, yes, I need to work on this, I need to work on that, right? And so, those things will help to make your applications better the next time that you're applying to it. So, like I said, we've been funded. I mean, we've gotten funding from individuals who are running schooling camp. We've gotten funding from institutions. And then, of course, I just want to mention some of those institutions here. Teach for Nigeria, African Leadership Academy, Future Fund for Education, Mastercard Foundation. These are some of the institutions that have contributed to our work, provided some funding for our work at different stages. And I just mentioned these four people or these four organizations because, I mean, there's a story behind it and how connected they are as well. And that's why I mentioned these four organizations. There are other organizations as well and individuals that have contributed to our work so far. So let me go ahead. So I prepared like 10 things that EdTech innovators, and this is a major part of my session today. EdTech innovators need to really put time in if we must access grant funding or access whatever opportunities that we want to access to grow our business. These are things that have helped me, that I know have helped other people as well. And I'll just like talk through it. There are 10 of them, 5 on this page, 5 on the next page, and that's like that's the core of this session. One is invest in problem demystification. And what do I mean by this, right? So most times you meet startups or you meet education innovations and you're asking, okay, what do you do? They tell you amazing things about what they do, how beautiful their technology is. Oh, we use AI to blah, 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 right? And just a whole, and it sounds really interesting. And of course, they're like, wow, and we use AI, and then of course we also have like an IoT device that helps to weigh blah 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 and provides the data to this, and immediately you get it on your mobile phone right there and there, which is absolutely beautiful. right? But then you now ask, what is the problem that that beautiful solution is solving, right? And that's where it's lost, right? I mean, the truth is we can always build things right, and you don't know which one to pursue. But if you look at the biggest innovations in the world today, the biggest startups, the biggest companies that have checked them, something that is always underlying is problem demystification, right? And it's a fact that, I mean, forget the demystification, big grammar, but it's a fact that the founders understand the problem that they are solving, right? I mean, if you get to some investors who want to invest in you, in fact, they don't care about the solution you bring. They care more about the problem that you want to solve and your own understanding of that problem, because they know that when you understand that problem, really getting a solution is just a work in the park. So for every education innovation, it really starts from problem, getting the problem clearly, defining it, know what the root causes are, right? Know who causes the problem, who is suffering the problem, who's trying to solve the problem, what have been done before about solving the problem, why didn't it work, what are the things that other people are exploring, what are the researches behind this particular problem, right? And once you have a deeper knowledge and understanding of all of this, it becomes easier for you to come up with a solution, and it becomes easier for someone with funding to trust you. It becomes easier for someone with an accelerator to offer you to trust you, because they know you are on the right path. Because it doesn't make sense to build solutions when there is no problem that solution is apparently it's not a solution if there's no problem, right? It can just be like an amazing nice to have, right? And good to have, and not necessarily need to have, right? So invest in problem demystification. So look at your solution today and look at what is it that the problem that my solution is solving. Clearly articulate that. Know whether your solution is actually tackling that problem or is just tackling the symptom of the problem, right? And be very sure, be very clear on that. So invest in problem demystification. This is why some startups will spend so much time trying to first think through what's the challenge that we are solving, what's the problem that we are solving, to really know what is it that they're doing, right? The second is be milestone minded, right? When we say be milestone minded, right? And really, because the point is, most times when you speak with funders, I've been privileged to speak with a lot of funders over the next week as well. Over this week into the next, I'll be speaking with quite a number of them again. And most times I know something that will always shine through that conversation is, what do you want our money to do for you, right? And this question comes up when you apply to grant funding. You're like, okay, we're going to award you this funding, but what do you want to use it for? So clarity is very key in this place. And one way to actually develop clarity for this, one way to develop, be milestone minded, is the fact that you actually are able to define what is it or what it is that you want to, you want to achieve, right? And that's where milestones come in. And I find out that most times as entrepreneurs, we have this lofty goal or this thing that we want to build. We have this like big idea that we want to bring to fore. We want to really see happen. We have this aspiration, this sense of aspiration. So this is what my EdTech innovation should be, right, as I'm building. But of course, there are steps to get to that place, right? So those are the things that you need to earmark as milestones. So if I want to build a schooling car, for instance, right, I just told you what schooling car does, but that's not the future of schooling car. The future of schooling car really is something, and we're evolving into that. It's beyond teacher training. Teacher training is just a tiny part of what schooling car is going to be later on, but we have milestones. So if I'm speaking to a funder right now, I'm telling them to invest in our technology. I'm telling them to invest in our marketing to teachers and schools, because that's where we currently are right now. But I'm also painting a vision where we should be. But of course, this is where I want that money to go into for now. So most times people, and it's just like, just ask yourself, if your family member, your brother comes to meet you, brother, I'm trying to look for Jeremy. Please, can you give me this amount of money? You're going to ask for what for, right? So it's very important that you're able to outline. So be milestone minded. That really helps, because when you have milestones as to this is what I want to be by year 1, year 2, year 3, this is who we should this is where our technology should be. This is where our workforce should be. This is the number of people I want on my team at this time. And this is how much I need to hire these people and pay them for the next 18 months. That is divided, you already put in milestones, and then you're able to communicate that to a fund and say, this is where we are right now, this is the amount of resources we have, but if you give us this is what we'll be able to accomplish. And that will make any investor or anybody who wants to fund your EdTech innovation or who wants to provide grants to you, understand. And of course, all of this needs to feature in your grant writing. So one, you're clear on the problem, you know where the money is going to, you know what you want to use it to be, and you know what the outcomes will be. All of this need to be written clearly in your grants. It needs to be spelled out when you're speaking to investors and funders. So the next one is invest in visibility. I'm a very big fan of building in the public, right? And I think that's something that has helped Schoollinker so far. I'm not a well-connected person. In fact, I don't really like going out. I don't like meeting people. Not like I don't like it. It's just not my thing, right? Before I used to be one to be outgoing, but of course I found out that, it's just a lot of stress and it's not my thing. So I'm not someone you meet in, different events and all of this. In fact, if I go out, mostly is maybe I go to church or something. But the point is, one thing I've learned so much is the fact that if you want to build something and you don't have trust funds somewhere, like nobody, your uncle or your grandfather has not left mountain of wealth for you to actually make use to build your business, or nobody's giving you a loan somewhere, or you don't have money somewhere, you've got to build in public. And that's where visibility comes to play. So how visible are you placing the work that you do in your company, right? How are you building in the public? I would tell people, build in the public at all times. And when you're building in the public, it means you're using some level of storytelling technique to let people out there know where you are with your work. So for instance, you have someone who gave you 1,000 naira today because they believe in you. Do you update that person on where you are with your work and where you want to be and what your resources that you need what progress are you making? Are you doing that, right? When it comes to digital platforms like LinkedIn, for instance, I use LinkedIn a lot. I use Instagram as well a while. Twitter, I've dropped the ball. With Facebook, okay, maybe something I post on Instagram goes to Facebook, really. But I make sure that I'm doing at every stage that we are in, right? And this really helps to get people to know. It makes trying to fundraise easier for me, because when I'm talking about the work that we do, is either the person I'm talking to already has seen me or has heard about what we were doing before, or knows someone that knows me basically and is able to put in good work for me, right? And apart from that, sharing and building in the public is an investment. And it's just interesting that a lot of people, especially people building EdTech innovations, like if I'm building a central bank or let me say I'm building GT Bank, for instance, I might not talk, right? I might not say anything. These are serious, or maybe I might not talk, or maybe I'm building what else? Building a company that produces erasers and pens. I might not talk, right? Because all these things are quite mechanical and technical. Not, I don't even think mechanical or technical is the right word, but these things are things that are not really associated with impact. But you can't be working in education and not talk about the work that you're doing, because naturally you're working in an interesting space that is closely aligned with impact. And I think that's why we're even talking about grant funding, because not every industry has, access to, be able to, to be able to access grants like this, because their work is not quite inspirational that way, right? So, but education affords you the opportunity to be able to tell. So if you're an EdTech innovator today and you're not talking about the work that you're doing, and the truth is, a lot of people, when you ask them, they'll be like, I don't have stories. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do really. But the truth is, everything you do in your work, it doesn't matter if your solution is working already, is a story that you can share. For instance, you have a conversation with your team members today and they tell you about an interesting part of the problem you're solving, and you research on it. You can share about that online, right? And, connect it to what you're building. It doesn't have to be fully live before you talk about your product. So talk about what you're building. And, like I said, it's an investment, it's an asset, basically, and it's an asset vehicle. And that asset really is not really monetary assets, financial asset or material, physical asset. It's more of like a social capital or social reputation that speaks for you when you are not there. Now, we were talking about, applying to grants and funding and all of these things. Once you submit your application, you are simply at the mercy of whoever is going to review the application and either move it forward or throw it in the trash. Most times people who review your applications don't just review your applications. They do a Google search on that name of your company and your own name and see what will come up, what will pop up. Your LinkedIn profile pops up, your Instagram profile pops up. They click on it, bam, and they go there, it is empty. Or they click on your profile where you say, oh, you are building an LMS for blah, 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 blah. And when they get there, they see you selling fried plantain chips, right? So what you talk about, like what you're building is something you should talk about and you should be closely associated with, right? On digital platforms, more important, right? And of course, attend events, be part of events, and then be able to share in those events what you're building and what you're doing. Just really meet with people and, always be very open to share what you're doing, really. Even when you go to events and you stand up, you want to ask a question. When you're introducing yourself, my name is Catherine Alungwa. I'm the founder of blah, 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 blah. And what we do at blah, 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 blah is this and this and blah, 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 blah. Okay, my question is, you don't know what you've done at that point in time. Everybody in that room, if what you're doing is interesting, or anybody that thinks that what you're doing is interesting to them already registers you in their head. And after that event, they walk up to you or they send someone to reach you and be like, let's have a conversation about what you're doing. And you don't know if that person will be your next funder or the person who will link you to the next funder or the person who will tell you about an opportunity that you should apply to. And I'm coming back to that, really. So invest in visibility. And it doesn't have to be expensive. I don't spend money on visibility at all. But of course, I just use the tools that are available for us to do that. A fourth point is understand the funding landscape in the ecosystem, right? And this has to do with you as a founder. You need to understand where is the biggest part of money going to. If you look at from 2020 or 2019 down to 2023, funding in EdTech definitely is really, compared to other sectors like fintech, real tech, and all these other techs, health tech, you can't compare education. So education funding is quite low. And if you look at it, majority of the funding in education, about 80% or 90% goes to like maybe the top 3 EdTech companies in sub-Saharan Africa, which is ULesson, Edukoya, or those are the guys that have got a lot of funding. And that's equity funding, by the way, not free money, right? So equity funding goes to them, to those big guys. But of course, that data is supposed to guide how you also create your own innovation, right? And know what you're building at a particular point in time. There are some innovation that have different aspects, right? Oh, these are one aspect, this one aspect, this one aspect of it. But knowing where the money is going to, what people are actually funding in EdTech, position that as a frontier, and you're able to access funding to be able to, go to the other things that you want to do. It looks like my internet is, but can you all see him?
Yes.
Yes, we can
Please
hear
let me
you.
know if you can. All right, good. Thank you.
You've muted.
No, thank you very much. Know what people are funding. Know where the money is going to. At some point in 2020, we know people were funding, companies like, ULesson as well, because people thought that schools will never resume again. All right, people need to keep learning. Okay, ULesson is offering this kind of content. And of course, a lot of content company as well got a lot of investment at that point in time, because that's where the focus is. If you look at the funding ecosystem right now, think about what are people funding the most. People are funding maybe tools tools that can help people deliver learning everywhere. Something like is doing with, with their products. They are funding assessment tool that can help to assess students to know where they are. They are funding language apps. They are funding content companies that are creating content for kids, maybe African inspired content and all of these things. So these are like the kind of companies they are funding right now in the education space, right? So it's very important to have knowledge of this so that pay pivots so that you can be able to align with those funding. And of course, it also helps you know if your company can become more competitive. And I'll say that has helped us with schooling a whole lot, right? I don't like sharing this in public, but I'm going to say, right, because if you look at it, how many companies really are working in teacher training and teacher development? Not really much, right? Schooling now appears to be, okay, this is a unique company because they're tackling a unique niche, right? And so for that, people who want to fund are a bit more interested in conversations because we're like, okay, you guys are doing something different. You are not doing tutor margin like every other education company is doing, right? Right. But of course, what we front the most is teacher training. But we have a tutor margin product as well. So you can see how that conversation is changing. Even if we have a tutor matching product, we talk about training educators and help. They don't have to, they fund tutor matching, but money will go to, because you have like 500 people for tutor matching. I have just 3 people for teacher training, right? It's more likely that you'll be chosen over the 3 people than you'll be chosen over the remaining 499 people in the other space. So these are things that help you reposition your work. Then bring in the best team to work with you. I would say people are very, very important when you're writing grant funding proposals, because they'll ask you for your team. So, and sometimes you don't have to like hire them full time, right? Before we point to start hiring people full time at Schoonica, we have people who are like advisors, people who are consultants to us, and then we put them as part of our team because they work with us, right? And when the funders say, be like, oh, this is a solid team, because funders too that are giving money, they want to be sure that the money they are giving to you is some, like, for the work that they are funding for, you have the capacity to do it. If you don't have the capacity to do it, you might have a great idea, understand the problem, you are milestone minded, you have solutions, you have, but if they see you as a group of, or a team that doesn't know what to do, like you have the idea, but you can't execute, you don't have the power of execution, you don't have the capacity to execute, their money will not come to you, right? People are very important. So it's important that you bring in the best team. Now, I'm going to the next 5, but I'm going to pause here to see if there are any questions or thoughts before I go ahead. And you can unmute yourself to share, or possibly just type in the chat box. So I'll put my eyes on that in the next 1 minute. So please, if you have questions or okay, looks like
Hi.
there.
Hi, Lewashon. Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
All right. Yeah, you asked if there are questions, right?
Yes, I do.
All right. So thank you so much for your presentation. I think that was really that was a great session. I learned a lot. Like now, even if
I
so
just
far,
paused a bit for question.
I wanted to clarify
Yes,
that,
so
by the
far,
way. So
exactly.
yes. Right, yes. So I think everyone is
Yeah.
so into your session that nobody wants to ask now, probably until you're done. They cannot have the opportunity to now ask everything they've been digesting since. So you can just go ahead. It's really, really interesting. At least for my own end, I've learned a lot. So I'll just allow my question will come once I'm completely done.
Yeah.
But is there anyone that have any question right now?
Thank
you. Yeah. Anyone here?
you.
All right.
No question.
All right. So
All right. Thank
continue.
you so much.
Yeah, continue.
Thank you so much. I thank you for your thoughts. I'm just going to go by this and then, of course, wrap up. So the 6th point is maintaining financial records. This is very, very important, right? Especially when we are education innovators, we are at the startup phase. We don't think this is important, but it is. It's very important. I remember when we were trying to access MasterCard Foundation, funding, they did due diligence on us because they were investing, right? Investing 100K in your company. They will do due diligence to ensure that, of course, you've managed whatever resources you've had in the past well, or your business has really generated revenue that you say it has generated, and all of this. And so maintaining financial records is very, very important. So, it doesn't matter if your company is just making 10,000 naira today. Maintaining maintain the record. It doesn't matter if what you spend on your company is just 5,000, and maintain the record to show, okay, yes, this is how much has gone into my business. This is how much I've gotten into the business as well, right? I mean, sometimes these funders don't need it to say, okay, you are viable. No, they just need it to say, yes, this is something that people are actually willing to pay for. Right. This is an education innovation that people are saying, okay, yes, I can put in some money for. So your financial records should be up to date. Ensure that you can use some of these tools that they use today. Most of them are, some of them have like free versions that can make it easier for you to actually maintain this financial record. So very, very important. Ensure that every penny you get is accounted for in your business. Always do that. Ensure that, of course, you have separate business accounts. I don't want to say all those ones. It's something that I believe everyone knows already. The seventh point is have a good relationship with customers. So if you have customers or you have beneficiaries, have a good relationship with them, right? There's a funny that we got, and then they asked to speak to, our they said we should give them a list of 20 people of our customers that they would like to speak with them before we got funded. So imagine we don't have good relationship with our customers. How will you invite them to say, somebody wants to fund us? You can imagine you've ticked all the boxes to get funding, and then it's now the point where they want to speak to people who have used your product before. And because you don't have a relationship with those people, the company, the organization has said, we can't, because of that, it's just so rubbish, right? So you should say, okay, I can speak to, total number of customers to do this for me, and they'll be willing to, to go the extra mile to actually support me to become work that I'm doing. So how many of us as EdTech innovators know our customers? How many of us speak to our customers? How many of us invite them to, maybe events or something? That's why community building is important, especially for EdTech innovation. Prioritize community building for every, it doesn't matter. It can be virtual, it can be physical as well, but it's very important that you know people who are actually using your product or using whatever it is that you're building, because it will come in handy when you're trying to access funding for your organization. Get legal identities that are appropriate for you. So, and this has to do with your business model. For some EdTech innovation, right, you just need to be a nonprofit. For some EdTech innovation, you need to be a for-profit company. For some, you have to be a blended, right? But know what works for you. And it has to do with knowing what business model you're running on. And, of course, the popular definition of business model is really how do you create value and how do you capture value back and how do you deliver value, really. How you create value, deliver value, and capture value back in return. So if you're able to figure that out, you're able to know that, okay, yes, it looks like this is my product, my users or my people will not be able to pay for it. Can I get funding from somewhere else? Can I run after philanthropic funding? Should I be a non-profit so people donate to the work that I do? Or maybe, yes, they can pay for it. Let's be fully for profit and get money. So once you know that, then you are able to get the legal identities that are appropriate for you. Do you want to register as a non-profit or register for profit? There are some grand opportunities that will never be given to for-profit companies and for-profit organizations. The kind of opportunities you have access to as a for-profit company is quite limited, very, very limited, right? And there are some funding that will not come to non-profits at all because they expect those funding to have ROI at the end of the day. And because it's a non-profit, not able to, profit, then definitely that will not happen, right? So know what you want and, just create your identity and pull through with it. Ninth, very, very important. Be very, 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 very authentic. Be super authentic, right? Be authentic means you're real. You're not trying to scheme or trying to appear like who you are not. And the truth is, because when people fund the organization, trust me, at early stage, they are funding you. If you're an early stage, only if you're maybe the CEO of ULesson is here, right? Even the CEO of ULesson, most of his investors are funding him. Because when it comes to education, education is a long-term investment. And so if people are putting their money in it for a long-term outcome and long-term expectation or investment returns, then trust me, they are not funding the business. No matter how interesting or intelligent the business idea is, they are funding you because they know it is your own capacity to pull through to that point that makes the justification for the money that they put into whatever it is you're building. So if for me that I can say, I have a good team working with me at Schooling Cow. The company is set up, but trust me, every of our investor, if they want to hold Schooling, they don't know Schooling Cow. It's me they know. They don't know my team members. Majority of them don't even know my team members, right? It's me they know because I'm the one that interfaces with them, right? I'm the one that came to ask for money. So they invest because they know Shem, and I'm like, Shem is a great guy. We trust in you. Take this money and do the work that you want to do. right? So that's why you need to be very, very authentic in what you're doing, how you deal with people, how you do everything generally, because your authenticity will shine through. You don't have to be who you are not, try to paint yourself as who you are not to get funding. The truth is, anybody who wants to fund you, any organization who wants to fund you, they also do their due diligence, and they can see through some of the cosmetics that people do, right? Of course, I know there are people who have done those cosmetics and have been able to get a lot of funding for their work, right? Which is really beautiful and cool. But trust me, it doesn't last because the substance is not there. We've seen example, and I can't be mentioning names here, right? But if you want to build something that will last, be very authentic. I mean, I've met quite a number of very authentic entrepreneurs, and when you speak to them, you talk to them, you can smell the authenticity. And even me, with the fact that I mean, the little I can even afford to give them the money that I have, that see, just take. I want to invest in what you're doing because of their own authenticity. So, for instance, so if I'm listening to, like, your idea is great, but I just like you, man. I trust you that whatever it is that needs to be done to make this a success, you're going to do it, and I'm going to give you that money. The final is, trust me, people know themselves, especially funders, they know themselves. So always try to belong to networks. And I'm going to talk about that a bit, right? Network is very important. There are some opportunities that come that they call tribe opportunities. So that means if you're not in that tribe, it doesn't matter. Even if you see the opportunity on Opportunity Desk or Opportunities for Africa or which other opportunities website exists and you apply to it, so far you don't belong to that tribe, your application will not go anywhere. Why? Because there's a network they've created already that people are part of, and they basically just, shortlist from that network. So you need to be part of network for you to be able to have access to opportunities that you can apply to be able to get a network of advisors and mentors that can really provide some level of peer mentorship to you as you go on through grant writing. So it's very important that you belong to networks, right? And like I said, everyone and everything is super connected, right? So I remember I showed you this before, right? The fact that this is schooling car, these are some institutions that have funded us, right? Then I have this this slide here. These are the same organizations, but I remove schooling car logo and I put my head here. That's to also show the authenticity. These guys here know me. They funded schooling, and that's how it will be for every of your innovation at the early stage. They fund your solution and fund your work through you as a founder. So as a founder, how authentic are you? How present in yourself? How are you in networks? Just like I said, for instance, I'm traveling tomorrow night to next week, having conversations, and then I'm spending a lot of our money on doing that because I think it's an investment, right? It's not because I'm going and I'm going to bring money, but I know I'm going to build relationships that'll be useful maybe tomorrow, next tomorrow, relationships that I might not be able to build if I don't go, if I don't travel, if I don't move, if I don't do all those things. So it's very important that you belong to networks. And I'm going to just explain a bit about that, right? How, network has also helped me. I started my education journey intentionally from Teach for Nigeria as a fellow. For those who are familiar with Teach for Nigeria, it's this 2-year fellowship. People are recruited and thrown in the classrooms into the education sector to be able to understand some of the challenges there and then come up with a solution for it, right? While working at Teach for Nigeria, of course, I got wind of African Leadership Academy, so you can see the connection there. And then African Leadership Academy was going to do a program called Growth Lab then, and it was, of course, advertised. I saw the advert somewhere, but of course, what made me apply was because someone from Teach for Nigeria, I think our alumni leader, I just sent everyone the opportunity that, oh, you guys should apply for this African Leadership Academy. Just enterprise, funding was promised, and then all these things. And then African Leadership Academy has another accelerator program for people from that growth lab that they think needs to be accelerated, and they bring them in for a 3 years program, right? So they selected some of us to apply to that. We applied to it from that growth lab, and then we got into the accelerator, right? We got into the accelerator, and I kept on, of course, funding that was coming from African Leadership Academy at that point in time, based on milestones that you hit. And while I was attending one of African Leadership Academy gathering in Rwanda, the CEO of African Leadership Academy at that time, just took me to someone like, there's someone I want you to meet. and it made me meet, of even before then, right? African Leadership Academy actually linked me up to Future Fund for Education, because Future Fund for Education at that time was funding the program that we are on with African Leadership Academy. And so they linked me up to Future Fund for Education, that, okay, this is a great guy that's doing great work. And of course, I was able to access some funding from Future Fund for Education. All of this on relationship, but of course, there was some proposal grant writing that I did among that, but trust me, it's not my grant writing. I mean, how many things do I want to write? There are people who write best grant proposals. So it was just because, you know, I was able to build relationships with these people, right? And then back to African Leadership Academy. Then, this CEO just took me to a man from MasterCard Foundation who was attending the gathering at that point. And this person as well, is doing something around education technology with MasterCard Foundation. And so the man out told me that, oh, there's a program we're doing in Nigeria next year. It's a flagship program. So the MasterCard Foundation program that many people got to know about last year when it was applied to, I already knew 2 years before, because I was part of this, and then of course I built relationship with someone from MasterCard Foundation, right? And of course, I won't say the relationship I built there really influenced the decision to select me. I don't think so, right? I mean, in fact, I don't think the man even still remember me. But of course, what it did was that it gave me information about the program I had and made me get prepared for the program I had. Because he told me, oh, we are doing this. He told me the company they are doing with Nigeria, in Nigeria, that's Co-Creation Hub and all of this. And I'm like, okay, yes. And so when the news came out, I was just really interested and excited to apply to it. And my mind was already ready to apply to it. So I would say, because of it, I was also linked to MasterCard Foundation in a way. And then, of course, we got the funding for MasterCard Foundation. And there's some other opportunities that have come out from MasterCard Foundation as well. So you can see the web that happens between these different funders and people that are funded. Teach for Nigeria as well funded our work at some point in time, through the alumni hub program. So there's a lot of communication that happens, and that's how people get access to funding to do the work that they do, belonging to networks. Like I said, networks is very important, right? The trip I'm going on tomorrow night is a new, I've never been there before, right? So, but of course, I'm going there to just meet new people, have conversations, talk to them about what we're building, and of course, see whoever is available to take conversations for them and build relationships and see what's going to come out from there. It all needs to build the right networks and get the right resources that will propel your innovation forward. So, I mean, I just talked about the story to sum up everything I've talked about here. Really good relationships, very authentic, belong to networks, right? Understand the problem, be milestone-minded. You can wake me from the sleep now to talk about schooling, and I'll tell you without stammering. Why? Because I've been able to demystify the problem that we're solving, and I'm able to articulate the solution that we're bringing to the fore. And that helps funders or people who want to invest in your enterprise really, really sure that you have what it takes to do it. So I'm going to stop here and say a big thank you to everybody for listening to me. I know I've short over time. I hope this makes sense, and I hope it is very everyone. I'm happy to take few questions. But of course, thank you so much for listening so far and staying with me. I hope this was of value to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Oluwaseun. I'm looking forward to, I don't know if Zoom has this balloon reaction that you can't. I can see reactions. Yes, I can see it. Yes. Thank you so much, Seun. This was really an enlightening session, and we are really, 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 really grateful for your time. This was really, really good. I mean, I've learned a lot about grants writing, and even if I don't see myself writing grants in the near future, I'll try and put myself in that position to write one, just to test my capability after this session. Just to know if I'm capable. I believe I am, because this was a really, really good session. So thank you so much. Yeah, like Oluwaseun said, he's open for questions. So does anyone have a question, any clarification, something maybe you had? Okay, I can see your hand. All right, go ahead and speak. Yeah.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, my name is Chioma, and I have a question, please.
Let's go ahead.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, Oluwaseun. Okay, thank you for the session. So my question is, there are some grant applications that require you to create a project and create a budget for the project. So it's not your regular business that they want you to create a project for them, a special project for them, and a budget for that. Have you ever had worked on any of such grants, and are you able to talk about like that kind of grant application where you're not applying for Schoolinka, you have to create a project and call that project a name, and then apply for that project and put a budget to that project with milestones? If you please help speak on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. So because that's why I said, I'm not, doing the theoretical part of grant writing, but yes, I've applied to, grants like that before, and I've gotten like maybe 2 of them. Of course, yeah, and most times, I think the 2 of them I applied to, there's a section for providing organizational details, and then of course the project details itself. So it's the asking you, is this project going to be undertaken by an individual or by an organization? But of course, for me that time it was Schoolinka, executing this project. There was a program we did back then called the Aspiring Educators Program with undergraduates and graduates, right? People who have studied education degrees and are trying to find their path in the education sector. And so we did that program, we got funding from it. We had to write a proposal for that project itself. But like I said, it's still going to go through the same process really, because ideally there is most times for those kind of projects or those kind of project funding really, most of the funders have focus areas. They have thematic areas that they want to fund. So they might tell you want to fund foundational literacy and numeracy, you want to fund teacher training, you want to fund educational access for rural children, right? So there are different theme areas for those kind of funding, because most times those funders just have a bucket of funding that is dedicated to a particular, thematic area in education. One mistake that majority of people make when they're applying to those kind of funding is the fact that the mistake of misalignment. So a lot of people are doing work that is clearly different from whatever it is those people are asking for. And so they create project for it. And then of course, at the end of the day, it doesn't pass its first reading and then it's thrown into trash. So one thing that you want to do as well is to first ensure that whatever it is you're applying to, whatever project you're creating, one, you have clearly aligned with what you're looking for, clearly aligned with what the organization is looking for to fund. Secondly, you clearly have the capacity to deliver on it, right? And there's also the crazy part. I don't apply to a lot of opportunities, right? I was speaking to an EdTech founder last 2 months or so. We met at an event at Paystack, and then we're talking, and of course, he's someone that, of course, if I mention his name, practically everybody will know him here. His company as well is quite popular. And was telling me, he was talking to me about MasterCard Foundation, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, that their company, that though, of course, MasterCard Foundation's money is just going to be a plus to them, right? Because they already have all their money that they need for the next 2 years, blah, blah, blah. And then, this year alone, at January, they've already applied to over 100 grants. And for me, I'm like, oh my God, where are you, Shil? Say a company has applied to over 100 grants, right? And of course, I'm sure those grants are like maybe different projects here and there, which I don't think is bad, but it has to be something that you clearly have the capacity for. So a lot of people apply to a lot of things, irrespective of whether they have capacity for it or it aligns with whatever they are doing, right? So that is, big. That's very key. Secondly, is the fact that you're clear, like I said, on the problem that you're seeking to solve, that project is seeking to solve, clearly outline it, then clearly outline your solution. Most of these grant proposals, right, like what you're talking about, right, will always provide a format for write your proposals. Most of them will always tell you this is how we want your proposal to, because they also don't want to waste time trying to read something that people are writing different things. And so if they give you a template, try to follow that template as much as possible, as much as you can. For projects like this, most of them, they require evidence, right? Projects like this most times are usually evidence-based funding, right? For instance, there's a learning approach that we're currently adopting at Schoolinka that we're applying for a funding for Of course, we did not get the funding, right? But we applied to it. But when we applied, we looked at every, the templates, the approach and everything. We studied it. We did a research on that, and before we applied to it, right? So that kind of process needs to happen, right, for your team, so that whatever you're creating as a project clearly outlines, one, with the template of project creation. Secondly, also aligns with the solution and whatever it is you're building. Another thing that, critical things that we need to also look at, most times organizations don't like funding projects that will not be sustainable. So this is very important that you factor in sustainability in whatever it is. And that goes for people who are trying to get funding for their enterprise, right? So your project has to be sustainable. So for instance, when okay, so if we give you this money, does it not mean that you still come back to us next year and say you need more money, right? So most funders don't like to fund from that particular source. So they want to fund projects that can sustain itself, either through getting more grant funding or maybe trying to generate revenue to become sustainable, right? And getting grant funding, even if you want to mention that, your solution has to be that great that any funder will find it hard to reject. So that's when they can take that as a model of sustainability. So if you look at most of these programs, what they usually, the easy route to say is your sustainability model is the fact that the community will drive the work after you're gone. So for instance, a project that you went to dig balls somewhere, you'd be like, oh, when I'm leaving, I'm going to set up a committee with the religious leaders, with the community leaders, blah, blah, blah. They'll be the one to maintain the tap and the bowl after I'm gonna be again. That's an easy way out. For education, it can be quite technical. It can be something that you can't pass over to any community, something that needs to keep running. So how would that project remain sustainable? Organizations, funders as well want to put their name on something that will be long lasting. So they want to also put their funding something that will cause real change, right? And there's this part. That's why I said I don't want to go into theoretical part of fundraising and grant writing. There's something called the theory of change. Your project's theory of change. It has to reflect in your grant proposal whether they ask for it or not. And of course, what's your theory of change for that project? So what is going to happen as a result of what you're doing? And most times when people write grant funding like that, when they ask you, what is it that's going to change? Most time people mention output instead of mentioning outcome. And there's a difference between both, right? So for instance, if I'm going to provide, if I say, okay, there's no, I go to a public primary school now and I reach there, these children don't have chairs and tables, and we're like, okay, so what our project is table a child or chair a child or whatever it is that you want to call the name of the project, and they'll be like, okay, what's going to happen? And be like, oh, the project is going to provide 5,000 pieces of table and chairs, and what's the outcome? Of course, 5,000 pieces of table and chair. 5,000 children will have 5,000 pieces of table and chair. That's merely an outcome, an output. Because output will measure quantitatively, like the numbers of probably materials you distributed, children you reach with your innovation, or teachers, or whoever you reach. But there's something that is called the outcome, and that is, what is the change that you expect to see as a result of the work that you've done? So as a result of putting chairs and tables in classrooms for 5,000 children, what's the change that will happen? Now, for that change, I can think further to say that if I do that, children will be able to learn in conducive environments, thereby improving their learning outcomes because they are more comfortable to learn, right? And that means it will significantly improve their grades in their foundational literacy. For those that are performing at 10% now, it will be able to increase to over 40% in the next 3 months as a result of the fact that they now have chairs and tables to sit on. I can say that, because of the chairs and tables to sit on, we will increase attendance rate in school because most children are not able to stay in classrooms where there are no chairs and tables. And so because of that, their parents keep them from coming to school because they don't want them to sit on the floor. And all these things will only come if you understand the root causes of the problem. So you can imagine providing chairs and tables linking to increasing attendance rates, increasing enrollment rates in schools. That means you're improving access to quality education. And you know that children not going to school is a big problem. Out of school children is an alarming rate. I don't want to say the figures anymore. So you can imagine how I'm linking providing chairs and tables to all those things. So that's the theory of change comes in. That's where the outcomes of your project comes in, and you're able to see the real change that actually happened as a result of your project. Funders want to see that. They don't just want to see that, oh, you are doing, and that's like, just like really, oh, that like, okay, I've done this, but of course you've done it, but what's the change that happens afterwards? So these are some of the things that needs to through. And of course, your budgeting as well needs to make sense. So when you say you're budgeting as well, how are you budget? People see inflated budget and like, this is really inflated budget. And people see, and you know, for this grant funding as well that you apply for projects, the truth is many of these, I'm sure you have seen things like this as well. Or everyone on the comments, where they'll tell you, these are the things that we fund. These are the things we don't fund. Many people try to apply for grant funding and they don't read that piece of information. It's very important. Some people will tell you they don't fund salaries. So if you put in your, I'd be like, oh, we are going to hire a project coordinator, you put it there, that can automatically qualify your entire project. It doesn't matter how beautiful it looks like. So these are things that we need to, so every grant information needs to be read thoroughly and understood, right? It'd be like, we don't fund capital expenses. And people are saying, oh, capital expenses, okay. What are capital expenses? Oh, is if you build classroom blocks. No, if you buy a laptop in a school, that's a capital expense as well because it's a fixed asset, so to say. I mean, for this school that they keep, and the grant doesn't fund it. So imagine you go and do that. There are some grants that will tell you that, okay, we don't fund these maybe organizations that are founded by vegetarians. We don't fund anything that will require you killing animal. And then in your own grant budget, you now went to write that we are going to provide meat pie as refreshments to our project beneficiary. Like, oh, you want to kill cow that we said we should not kill, right? To be able to, and you're like, okay, I've written an amazing proposal and you're looking at why it doesn't get granted, right? So like different reasons, and that's why you need to read the information about the project. So each project funding call for proposal or RFPs really ask for specific information. You need to read well and read clearly. There's a whole lot to unpack in that, right? It's like an entire session on its own, but I'll just stop talking at that point. I hope that makes sense. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yeah.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Can I proceed?
Good evening. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thanks. Okay.
I think Marvelous wants to say something. I'm not sure.
No. I just wanted question really opened a lot of opened the floodgate of a lot of information, especially when you speak about the theory of change. So that answer was really elaborate and really insightful. So thank you. I can see a lot of people here and answering my name. So yeah, you used my link to join. So you can rename. You can just tap on by the site and then just rename yourself to what your real name is. I know Aminat is the person that wants to speak now.
I'm like, it looks like it's only Marvelous I'm speaking to on this.
So I know Aminat is the one person I want to speak now. I know I used to have a profile picture. So Aminat can change your name to your actual name instead of Marvelous my name. So yeah, sorry about all of that. So yeah, Aminat, you can speak now. You can ask your questions.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Thanks a lot, Fion, for this section. It was really insightful, and I must say I've learned a lot of new things. I got the good number of exposure. As regards the template, do you have a template, or let's say anything or resources that you think might be helpful when one wants to register for this grant or proposal or anything, or pitch?
Well, maybe pitch. Yeah, pitch. Of course, pitch is quite standard. But when you say, okay, you're applying to programs, there are different questions for different programs. So you most likely won't get a template for that. But pitch and maybe grant opportunities, there are some grant opportunities that probably have a template that maybe someone who has applied to the before, you can reach out to them if they're open to sharing what they wrote in their own grant application with you. But I think for pitch, of course, there are grants. I don't know if Lint now might be able to share some of this to the community of EdTech. I mean, and there are a lot of pitch decks, actually, templates. Even if you go to another Canva will give you like a number of pitch deck templates that you can just edit and just put in your information there, right? So, and of course, when it comes to pitch, and like I said, it's just really important to read what is requested by the organization. For pitch documents, sometimes it can be different. Some organizations will tell you don't want your pitch deck to be more than 7 pages. So we'll say just 10 to 13 pages, right? And that means you need to put only the right information there, right? So that's it. But of course, when it comes to templates, is quite peculiar to whatever opportunities you're applying to.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So how can I connect
outside this program.
How can you do it? I didn't get that.
Connect, reach out to you.
Yes, so I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm on all the platforms. No, all the platforms, but LinkedIn and Instagram, I'm there. I can just drop it in the chat box really, and then you can connect with me on LinkedIn. On Instagram is K Oluwaseun. Dave on LinkedIn is Oluwaseun Kayode. Yeah, so that's it. So you can connect with me there. You can send message on LinkedIn. That's totally fine. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Oluwaseun. Also, we'll be reaching out with you also for the template you mentioned earlier, so we can share it with our community. The pitch template, that is, so you can share it with our community. Yeah. So yeah, we'll definitely do that. And appreciate if we can share it with us, so we can share it with them as well. So thank you so much. I know there was Kirut Ebo, your hands are up. So yeah, go ahead with your question.
Okay, hello everyone. Good evening. So it was quite an interesting one, though I came in late. I actually forgot about the session until when I saw the WhatsApp message. Okay, so my question though is on the MasterCard EdTech Fellowship. We actually applied and we actually got to the very final stage. We got to the stage at which we just had to say that we are available for the event or not. And later on, and that was it. And we were wondering what the problem was. And since you have gone through the process already, do you have an idea of what could actually make one after showing that you're available for the event and you're no longer selected? Do you have an idea of what really transpired? Because one of the mistakes we actually made from the beginning was that we didn't have our companies registered separately because we have different brands under one umbrella. And then before we registered, we only just had one of our brands registered with the name. But for the other one, the name was not registered. So we were not thinking probably maybe that's the cause. And probably we didn't also share they asked for our state of account too, our previous year state of accounts, and we did not share. So we don't know if that could actually also cause it or something.
Okay. So just get to the interview stage. Did you do the interview?
Yes, we did the interview. We got to the last stage was for us to confirm our availability for the event.
Okay, for the program itself.
Yes, that was
your customers, blah 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 blah. Yeah. So I mean, I would naturally assume that due diligence caught you out in a way. I know I mentioned some financial reports, right?
Yes.
It meant you guys didn't provide. That's a very integral part of the process, right? I'm not sure what number of documents you guys weren't able to provide, but it's very, very important. And that's why I said sometimes we really get lost in the solution itself, that we don't look at the operational part of the business. And this, so they get to ask them. So I would assume, I'm not speaking for CC or MasterCard Foundation.
I know.
That's where so when the result of the due diligence might just like, okay, these guys weren't able to submit this, they don't think they can move ahead with it, really. Yes,
because we're also feeling that if we didn't scale through the due diligence, why did they ask for us to confirm our availability?
So those things can be running concurrently, right?
Okay, that's true.
Diligence, and then of course still asking you, okay, are you available? And so maybe when result of due diligence came out, it'll be like, oh, even if these people are available, these other things
doesn't work out. Okay, I think we are trying to put processes in place, like you said. We are actually caught up with the solution and we forget other important parts of the business. And
yes. And I think, of course, if you guys got to this stage time, the next time most likely.
So I'm going to connect with you on LinkedIn. Though I've already connected with you, but I've never chatted with you. So I'm going to do that.
Okay. All right, that's fine. That's totally fine. Thank you. All right. So I think that's all the questions we have.
Okay, thank you so much, Oluwaseun. Sorry, guys, we might not be able to take any further question. So you can drop your questions in the chat and we will find a way to get back to you on your questions. Yeah, Marvelous, over to you.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Oluwaseun, for your answers, and thank you everyone that asked questions today. When you ask questions, you're able to learn more. So thank you so much everyone for your participation in this program. Really appreciate all of you that registered, all of you that joined, all of you that asked questions, all of you that listened attentively, and all of you that are going to put all that you've learned into practice to ensure that just to ensure that your next grant will be highly successful and including others as well. So yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, can you see me? Oh, sorry. A lot of messages that are blocking my view. Yeah, can you see my screen now? Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, so
Yes.
thank you. Yeah, so yeah, Litna also now be holding a 2-day boot camp coming up soon. So it's a boot camp for EdTech entrepreneurs and founders alike. It's going to be a virtual boot camp where we're going to come and interact, learn a lot of things about the EdTech space. So it's a 2-day boot camp. You just engage individuals from in the EdTech community and then just help them, equip them with necessary skills, tools, and resources. Just like we've had this amazing webinar right now. So we'll also have more of this and others in this 2-day boot camp. Like again, there'll be skills. There'll be skill development, there'll also be access to funding, access to technology, and there'll also be a grand prize for the top 2 winners that eventually goes to the pitching stage of the boot camp where you pitch to a panel, to the jury, and which also give access to investors. So we have prizes 750, I think, and 500K as well for the top 2 startups. So yeah, so if you know anyone that haven't registered, today is the deadline. So this is an exclusive opening. After today, it's closed. So there'll be no more opportunity to apply for this boot camp. So by giving you guys, because of you joined this webinar, you took out your time to join. So we're telling you, if you know anyone, you know someone that will really strongly benefit from this, or even yourself, you're here and you know that this webinar, this 2-day boot camp rather will strongly benefits you and your business, I will advise you to apply and ensure that you be part of it. And we hope that from there, you can grow your business and become big and successful now and even in the future. So yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for being attentive. I think we've asked all the questions we want to ask, and we want to wrap up this session now. So yeah, so follow us on all our social media handles, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. They're not here. Okay, it's at Use Litna, all of them. LinkedIn, Instagram, X. Yeah, Use Litna, USELITNA. So follow us. We're also on Facebook as well. Yes. So follow us, connect with us, engage with our posts, so that we can also so that we can just build this community that are building and continue to grow. Share us once you post, share our posts so that you can reach your connections and they can also apply and join our community and we can grow and continue to serve you better. So yeah, that's it. Thank you again, everyone. Thank you, Oluwaseun, for your time. It was really an exciting session, and thank you every one of you that joined this session. Your questions, your engagements, and everything, and we hope that you guys will just take everything you've learned today and carry it on as you go further in the future. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your evening and the week ahead. So bye everyone. Bye guys.
Bye.